Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to share the full weight of this incomprehensible act. Ana will never be forgotten. We will carry her light and her memory with us forever.
That's Ana Walshe's sister. Originally, they're from Serbia. She's living in Canada now. She is the only person to address the court for Brian Walshe's sentencing today, did so on behalf of the Commonwealth. Her words were impactful, and you could see and hear the pain that what Brian Walshe did continues to affect so many people, including his family members and the friends of both Ana and Brian, and especially Ana's immediate family, sister and mother. Let's find out now. The Commonwealth wants consecutive sentences. It's up to the judge. Also, will Brian Walshe say anything? It's the two remaining questions. Let's get answers with the conclusion of the sentencing of Brian Walshe.
There is no task facing a judge that is more important or more difficult than crafting an appropriate sentence. The legislature mandates that the only appropriate sentence for the jury's verdict, murder in the first degree, is life in prison without the possibility of parole. That sentence is immensely appropriate and just, given your murderous acts and the life trauma that you've inflicted upon your own children. As to counts 2 and 3, I have wide discretion in sentencing. I want to state my rationale for your sentences on those 2 counts on the record now. I have considered various factors with regard to my sentence for counts 2 and counts 3, to which you pled guilty on November 18th, 2025. Specifically, I've considered the severity of the crimes, their nature and circumstances, and your role in those crimes, the need to deter others from committing comparable crimes, and your prior criminal record, namely your federal fraud case. As to the latter, your criminal history shows a long and well-documented history of deceitful and manipulative behavior. I've considered your character, or lack thereof, your behavior, and your background. With regard to the nature and circumstances of the offenses, as to indictment 002, in the approximately 4 hours of interviews spanning 4 days, you concocted a detailed, completely fabricated story of what happened to Ana Walshe on January 1st, 2023, in order to cover up your murder of her and disposal of her body. Your lies triggered a multi-day, extensive missing persons investigation. A command center was set up in Cohasset and was manned by various law enforcement, to include the Cohasset Police Department and the Massachusetts State Police. And local and Massachusetts resources were deployed to Washington, D.C. to investigate at Ana's home. Because of your lies, thousands of hours of investigative resources were wasted and diverted from other deserving cases and investigations. As to the nature and circumstances of count 3, the improper disposal of Ana Walshe's body, the seriousness of your acts cannot be overstated. Your acts in dismembering your wife's body and disposing of her remains in multiple area dumpsters can only be described as barbaric and incomprehensible. You had no regard for the lifelong mental harm that your criminal acts inflicted on your then 2, 4, and 6-year-old sons, not only in taking their mother, but also, as is specific to this charge, in never being able to properly grieve that loss, to say goodbye to their mom. And I hear today the same is equally true of a sister who never was able to say a proper goodbye to her sister, a mother who never was able to say a proper goodbye to her daughter, and many friends who had the same loss. As to indictments 2 and 3, I have considered the sentencing guidelines, the aggravating factors. There are no mitigating factors in this case. And I also sought out and considered information from the Massachusetts Sentencing Commission, again, which I shared with the parties earlier this week, in particular sentencings in 2022 and 2023 of defendants who are convicted of murder and/or voluntary manslaughter, along with a Chapter 268, Section 13B conviction. This is not a guideline case. Finally, as to the first-degree murder conviction, I have considered the loss of the life of an innocent, remarkable woman, Ana Walshe, and its devastating impact on her children, as relayed to me in the letter from DCF, her family, as relayed to me in her sister's victim impact statement today, friends in their victim impact statements, and the community. In the trial testimony of Jem Mutlu and Alyssa Kirby, a little bit of Ana Walshe, her warm, powerful, and embracing spirit came to life in this historic courtroom. I have carefully listened to the moving victim impact statement, to the oral written sentencing arguments made by the Commonwealth and by Mr. Walshe. It's clear to me that Ana was a bright light in the lives of many people. She lifted people up. I am sure that nothing I say and no sentence I can impose, even a life sentence, will lessen the grief that Ana Walshe's family, her mother, sister, and 3 boys, extended like family, confidants, friends, and others have endured and will continue to endure. Although I consider the letter of Diane Walshe, I simply cannot reconcile the person Diane Walshe describes in her letter with the person who stands before me for sentence. Mr. Walshe, you can stand. Mr. Walshe, you will live with the guilt and burden of Ana Walshe's death for the rest of your life. As to count 1, the jury having convicted you of murder in the first degree, I sentence you to life in prison without the possibility of parole. As to indictment 2, lying to the police in connection with the investigation of a life felony, I sentence you to no less than 19 years, no more than 20 years, the statutory maximum, in prison to be served consecutive to the life sentence in 001. The legislature caps the maximum sentence for the improper disposal of a body at 3 years in state prison. As to indictment 003, the improper disposal of the body of your wife, Ana Walshe, I sentence you to no less than 2 years, 364 days, and no more than 3 years in state prison to run consecutive to the sentences in 001 and 002. I want to make one other notation with regard to the sentences that I'm giving today. Earlier in this case, I identified that there was an error in Mr. Walsh's III. That error persists to today. Specifically, so the record is clear, as I understand Mr. Walsh's prior federal sentence, he was sentenced to 37 months in federal prison. That sentence was to run concurrent with any state sentence that was given in this case. This morning, I asked probation to run his III again, and it is still incorrect. It is showing a 5-year probationary sentence. At my direction, the probation department in the last month, or perhaps a little bit longer, contacted the federal probation office in Boston to correct what I think is an obvious error in his III. It has not been corrected, and it stands still today as showing 5 years of probation as the sentence. To the extent that confuses anything in my sentencing, I want the record to reflect that, again, it's my understanding he was sentenced to 37 months in federal prison to run concurrent with this sentence that I'm now imposing today. Madam Clerk, you may impose the sentence.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Walsh, the jury having returned a guilty verdict on charge 1, murder in the first degree, you were sentenced to the state prison for the term of your natural life. Count 2, witness intimidation, you having entered a guilty plea to that, sir, you're sentenced to 19 years, not less than 19, not more than 20 years, to run from and after your life sentence on count 1. On count 3, improper disposal of a body, you are sentenced to not less than 2 years and 364 days and not more than 3 years to run from and after the sentence on count 2. You will receive 1,076 days credit for time deemed served while awaiting the disposition of this matter. All fees and fines in this matter are waived. You're all set, Mr. Walsh. Thank you.
Thank you, counsel.
Madam Clerk.
Goodbye.
They marched him out of the courtroom, and I don't know if you noticed it, but Ana Walshe's sister, who gave that victim impact statement, was in the gallery trying to get eye contact with him as he walked out, but he did not return. And he's off. He's off now to spend the rest of his life in prison. John Day, still with us. Your thoughts on the judge's sentence and how she delivered it? Anything stand out?
Right. Well, this judge throughout this trial has been pretty sort of magnificent in terms of how she's run the courtroom, and I think the imposition of sentence just capped that off. And then you had that moment, and it may have been the most significant moment of the entire trial, when he is walked out in handcuffs past Ana Walshe's family and friends, because that is the moment that they were waiting for. It may even surpass the guilty verdict, because I think everybody understood that would have been tough to come back as anything other than that. But it's that moment, those few seconds when they get to attempt to make eye contact with the man who killed their relative, their friend, the light of their lives, and it's important for them. It's the moment that they get to feel like justice, to the extent it's going to be served, was served with him being walked out in handcuffs. So, not surprising, the judge stacked the sentences. She gave her rationale for them. Each crime was different. Each one was significant to her. The defense didn't have much to work with. They did what they had to do, a somber moment. But at the end of the day, arguing that he ought to be treated humanely kind of falls flat in the circumstances of Ana Walshe's murder.
What did you make of him not taking an opportunity to address the court, probably advised by his attorneys not to, but this is a person that really wanted to get up on the witness stand. He's told lies, basically for a living before the murder with the sale of fake art. I thought maybe there was a chance he would say that. He's very pleasant. He's like, oh, hello. And then when he first came in at the end, thank you. Your thoughts on his demeanor and the fact he declined the opportunity to address the court?
Yeah, the demeanor, I mean, he had been prepared for this moment by his defense team. He knew what was coming. I mean, this was not a surprise on any level. And the fact that he didn't address the court is not surprising. Also, because what is he going to say? Is he going to try to justify? Is he going to try to apologize? There's nothing that Brian Walshe could say that would have any impact. If he did talk, it would only be for his own sort of self-soothing, try to rationalize what he did. And
I
there's
thought
no
maybe
way
he would. Yeah, that was the only reason. Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
I know, and it's I think we were wondering, is that a human reaction? Do you want to say something at the very last, sort of your last gasp? But his lawyers probably said there's no point to that. I mean, you get to decide. You're the client. You're the defendant. But what could he have said? I mean, the only thing he's got left is his relationship with his children who were so young. I mean, that's really his only connection to the human world that's left. And I guess I'm not surprised he didn't say anything. It certainly might have been tempting to him because of the fact that his whole, the balance of his life has been sort of measured by this arrogance, this idea that he can, first of all, the federal conviction for fraud, that explains something about his character. And then we have this, exposition of his character and the murder of his wife, the disposal of her body, and, the fact that it didn't really matter to him what effect this would have on his family, on his kids, on his friends. So it's really a monster, you're saying, and what could a monster say that would humanize him? And I guess at the end of the day, in the final analysis, not surprising, but it reflects, he is an arrogant person who is now going to face the music.
Yeah, and the Lowe's camera capturing him adjusting his hair in mid disposal of his wife's body also really brought to life his character. What's his life going to be like in prison? A high-profile case, and to your point, he kind of ticks every box of being a scoundrel.
Yeah, not good. I mean, it's not, you can just imagine what it's like to face the idea that you're going to spend the rest of your life in this, cinder block world where you're not going to be treated well because of the notoriety of the case. I'm sure his team has tried to prepare him for that, but how do you prepare someone for that? On the other hand, of course, he's getting what the people of Massachusetts believe he deserved. And so he's facing that. He's had plenty of time to face that. I don't think anyone thought that the trial would end any differently. Of course, there was the possibility of something like a second-degree murder comeback with the jury. It didn't happen. But life won't be good for him. He'll have a lot of time to think about what he did and the effect he had on the world, and his world, his children, his friends. And that's it. You turn the key, shut the door, and that's where he'll be for the rest of his natural life.
Yeah, he'll go from trying to sell Warhols, fake ones, to trading cigarettes and other and things in prison.